Kevin Ward, welcome. I'm so excited to speak to Kevin Ward. In some circles, he is known as the dawn of the AI community in the Bay Area, and it was not bestowed upon him by himself. His friends say that, so you know it's true. And also, before we get into talk to Kevin, I want to just say I was speaking to these researchers who research Anglo Indians, and they talk about this thing called Anglo Indianness, like what makes a person Anglo Indian, right? And I've spoken to Kevin maybe twice or thrice over the phone, and let me tell you, Kevin exudes Anglo Indianness. I'm going to have to start a counter for how many Anglo-Indian words Kevin throws out, like jing bang, and so Kevin Ward is just full of energy, plenty of stories. I don't think we have time to fit all of them in, but he definitely exudes Anglo-Indianness. So I'm so excited to get to speak to him, get to know him more, get to know his family, where he's from, what he's been up to. So Kevin, you want to just tell us who you are, where you live right now, and then we'll jump into the details.
Conrad, first of all, I want to thank you for setting this up. Once again, it's my privilege and to know that fellow Anglo Indians have the talent, have the forte, have the brilliance to even take up something like this. And my congratulations to you. And, I'm definitely positive that you will reach many goals that you have in your life.
Thank you.
And like you and me, I am proud to be an Anglo Indian.
Yes.
So I come from a family where we were 7 siblings. I was born in a railway colony. My father was a railway employee all his life. After retiring from the British Army,
Yeah.
I was born in a railway colony called Adra, Adra. It was the hub of the Anglo Indian community. It's in the state of West Bengal. And I grew up there, but I didn't spend many years of my life.
Okay.
I think at the age of 10, 4 of our brothers, my older brother Ken, myself, my brother Roland, my brother Neil, we were all, per credit for my wonderful mother, she would have no two ways of us going anywhere but a Catholic school and a good school. And I am so grateful that my mother's determines.
Yeah.
And I still want to thank her and thank you for bringing her up today. She, with the help of the Jesuit priests, we went to Loyola School in Jamshedpur.
Nice.
And I still count my blessings to be under the Jesuits,
Yeah.
the brilliance of some teachers. And I finished my senior Cambridge. It was called senior Cambridge in that.
Oh,
that
really?
time. So the exam came from England.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
year? Which year was this?
I passed out my senior Cambridge in 1969.
Oh, wow.
And then later on, with the help of Frank Anthony, the exam was brought to India. It was called the Indian School Certificate of Education.
Wow, that I did not know that the
Yeah.
exams came from England.
Correct. And my certificate is signed from England.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. So when I came to America, just a
Yeah.
little joke, the person who interviewed me to see my degree,
Yeah.
he said, "My God, I don't have to even see your high school certificate. You went and did the certificate from England. Your certificate is from Cambridge,
Yeah.
And she says, I know now where you studied. And, we were in Loyola School. I was in Loyola School from 63 to 69. We were all in the boarding in Loyola School.
Okay.
About 50 of us. And something to let you know, out of 50, I think 45 were all from railway colonies.
Okay. Wow.
So parents took trouble to admit us into
Yeah.
this beautiful school because railway colonies, they had their limitations,
Sure.
And I have no regrets.
Yeah.
I went to Loyola School And then after that, I was only, I think, 18 years old, and the principal of the school where I studied, he was a Jesuit priest, Father Larry Hunt. He says, before you go to college, now he went exceedingly out of his way to help me when I was, not very well off
Yeah.
financially.
Yeah.
And I never forget that. I'm
Yeah.
always grateful to people. I
Absolutely.
come from very humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And Father Larry Hunt asked me, he says, Kev, I want you to do me a favor. I said, what is it, Father? He says, for 1 year, I'm going to open up a school in another place in Bihar. It
Mm.
was Dhanbad. He says, and I'm going to open a school just for Anglo Indian, poor Anglo Indian children. And he says, you're going to be the leader of the school and you're going to set up everything and be the teacher who's going to be heading the school.
Wow. At 18.
At
Wow.
18, can you
Wow.
imagine me? I was
Yeah.
shivering. He said, but don't worry, I'm there with you night and day. And
Yes.
believe me, with the help of another classmate of mine who was also Anglo Indian,
Yeah.
we both started a school for all the railway, colonies from
Yeah.
different parts. And I was the one that began that school with Father. I still have a certificate, I think, from Father Larry Hunt, letting me know that I was the one that started the school.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and my two other younger brothers then came there to that same school and finished their high school because, the hostel closed
Yeah.
in Loyola
Okay.
School. There was no
Okay.
more hostel.
So what was your role in that school? Were you like a headmaster or what
I
were you?
was I was the supervisor, the main supervisor. I saw to the food with the cooks. I saw to the studies for the boys. I had to be sort of the godfather there for all of them, discipline them, and also make sure that they were on the right track.
Did you ever get to discipline your younger brothers?
Oh yes, if they had to, they had to. But those days, Conrad,
Yeah.
children were very disciplined.
Yeah.
Very disciplined,
Yeah.
and everything was time to time games. They were all the Anglo Indian boys were so versatile in sport,
Yeah.
so we encouraged that, and we had good times. And then
Yeah.
I had to leave because I had to go and continue my own studies.
Yeah.
I went and finished I went to Darjeeling and did my College of Education exam.
Did you like Darjeeling? Was it
It
not,
was
not crowded?
beautiful at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So I was in Darjeeling 71, 72.
Oh, wow.
A long
Wow.
time.
Yeah. I have one more question. I'm really curious because at 18, right? At 18, for someone to say, hey, go and lead this project, that person had to see something in you, right? So I know you're a very humble person, but in a way that will help others, right? How to, what's that people skill? What's that character do you think that priest saw in you that he entrusted you with something so important, right? Were you a good student? Did he show leadership? Were you friendly? What do you think he saw in you that made him come to you?
I love your question. You hit the nail on the head, Conrad. I was a very mischievous boy in school, let me tell you. Not naughty, not naughty,
Okay,
mischievous.
yeah, I get it. Yes, yes,
But I had the talent, I had the brilliance, but I took very little time to study.
yep,
And I spent most of the time playing games and doing other things. And then when I took up this job, I realized that I was now in the right field to motivate other Anglo Indians to get on track.
yep,
And Father Hunt was instrumental in giving me that chance. And you bring tears to my eyes because I didn't ever know that even after 1970, I would be able to keep in touch with Father Larry Hunt, a great Jesuit. I didn't know that I was going to come to this country.
yeah.
And my daughters were so faithful to me. I went and saw him when he was in North Carolina as a
Oh,
pastor.
wow,
See, I'm telling you,
wow, what a great story.
what a great story. And
Yes,
And I guess about 14 years ago, when I went for another Jesuit Golden Jubilee celebration, he was there. And then he says, Kev, I can't believe you're sitting with me here, you know. And he says, I said, Father, what would you like me to do for you? He says, let's take a ride. I'm going to take you and we're going to say mass in, another parish and you're going to serve the mass. And I was already pretty old. He said, I'm going to let them know that you were the one that was with me. And I said, what a privilege, what a
Yeah.
privilege.
Yes.
And then I asked him, what do you want to do? He says, I said, you want to go out for lunch? He says, how about us going out for a Chinese lunch? And the Chinese lunch was so symbolic
Sure.
of a relationship. We
Yeah.
both broke down and cried at that
Wow.
restaurant.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I'm getting goosebumps.
And then I went for his funeral too. You won't believe this.
Yeah.
My older daughter made sure that I came from Santa Clara and went for his funeral when he passed away, might be 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh
So
wow.
what a blessing for me.
Yeah, he sowed a seed in your life and was able to see how it bloomed and blossomed, right? And
Correct.
that's I can't imagine the joy of a mentor seeing the benefits of what many people might have seen you as a mischievous person, but he clearly saw something special, and for them to see the full story, like
Correct.
that's as a mentor, as a father, I would love to see that my children, people I mentor, to see that come through. What a great privilege that is.
And
Um,
absolutely, Conrad. And I know him.
yeah.
He had a fascination to help Anglo Indian children.
Now, was he Indian or was he? Oh,
No,
so
no,
he was.
he's American Jesuit.
Okay.
I studied in Loyola School, Jamshedpur, where 90% of the Jesuits came from the Baltimore, Maryland province.
Really?
So there
Wow.
were only about 4 or 5 Indian priests and
Okay.
about 25 to 30 American Jesuits.
Oh, wow. That's
And
crazy.
after that hostel closed, he says, we got to do something for those poor Anglo Indian boys, Kevin. We can't let them go astray.
Yeah.
And so many other Anglo Indian boys were given a privilege of going in for further studies.
Yeah.
So, all credit to Father Larry Hunt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Father Larry Hunt. I'm so glad that we are able to say his name and remember him through you. Because if not, I'm sure he's not forgotten in his circles. But for new people hearing that story, Larry Hunt, Father Larry Hunt, we are also privileged to say his name and remember his story. What a great impact. Um,
Thank
I
you,
would,
Conrad.
I would love to, I would love to know a little bit about your parents
Sure.
as well.
Sure.
Kevin, I know it was your dad. Your dad was on the railways.
Yeah.
What did he do?
My dad actually was born in Burma, Myanmar.
Oh, nice! You're the
Yeah.
second person I'm speaking with who
Yeah.
has yeah.
And he always used to tell us stories because my grandfather and grandmother were petitioned in Burma during the war.
Yeah.
My father was born in Burma,
Okay.
and when India got its independence, from my father's side, they went back to England.
Oh wow.
But my father trekked with his aunt,
No
his
way.
mother's sister. I remember her name, Dorothy McIntyre.
Wow.
And they came to a place called Vishakhapatnam. So my dad studied there in a technical school, St. Aloysius, Vishakhapatnam. And for some reason, I think he was then petitioned. He was the corporal in the British Army. And he came to this railway colony, I guess, and then started working. My mother was from Hyderabad.
Okay.
But she grew up mostly in this railway colony
Yeah.
because she was adopted, she and my uncle were adopted by my grandfather's mother. And that's how they met in Adra. So my mother and father got married in Adra.
Okay.
And there were several Anglo Indians in Adra.
Yeah.
Several Anglo Indians. The whole town was Anglo Indian.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And my father was on the railway. He started off as a steam driver.
What was your dad's name?
Clifford Joseph Ward.
Clifford Joseph. My middle name's Joseph as well.
I saw, and he was very British, very British.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Very, very British.
Yeah.
And there was no half lux or tomfoolery from my dad. Let me tell you that. No mincing words.
Yeah.
For him, action spoke louder than words.
Yeah.
But I thank my dad for the way he was.
Yeah. Absolutely.
A hard worker, honest man, and he had a hard life being a railway driver and then a traction driver. Later on in his life, he got a much more senior position where he was a zonal training inspector for teaching
Oh,
traction
nice.
people who were on the railway.
Nice.
And my dad was a very unique person in our family.
Yeah.
He had the gift of the pen. He had the master of the pen. A lot of Anglo Indians were very good at writing.
Yeah.
And he was on the Anglo Indian Association.
Nice.
And he used to write letters to different places like Calcutta, Asansol, Kharagpur, Jamshedpur, sending applications for Anglo Indian children to get into schools.
Oh, he used to help out. That's
He
nice.
used to help out my
Yeah.
dad. I can remember that very well. He was the master with the pen. And a lot of us Anglo Indian children were, the beneficiaries of my father's expertise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
dad became more calm when we were all grown up.
Yeah.
And dad was a totally changed person when we had children. I used to tell him, Dad, I can't believe that's you.
Yeah.
My daughters were the two girls because they were quite older in Calcutta. They love my dad because
Yeah.
he used to put them to sleep
Yeah.
and he used to play some music and sing songs to them.
Nice. Did he
And
play guitar? Nice.
he used to play. My dad he used to play the banjo,
Okay.
and my dad had the gift of playing with two spoons.
Oh, really?
He had two spoons
Yeah.
he could make music with.
Man, that's so rare and unique. Even the
Very, very
banjo.
unique. Yeah.
Banjo is not a common instrument in India now, but if you speak
No,
to
and the
previous
ukulele too.
generations, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But I went to Nashville when we went there to see even Elvis's last remains, and then we went to
yeah,
Tennessee. We saw a lot of musicians playing spoons,
yeah,
and my two daughters are saying, "There's Grandpa there."
that's
So
funny.
that was my dad. Yeah,
Yeah,
and he passed away in Calcutta. Now, on the other hand, my mother,
yeah,
Violet Mary, uh, I think for me, she's the most precious
yeah,
woman that ever lived for all
yeah,
of us.
yeah. Tell us about your mom. Yeah,
My
I
mom
I
was
know
the
she
opposite
inspired
of
you
my
a
dad.
lot. Yes.
She always fought up for us when we were in trouble. She was the kindest soul. She was the one that provided, all the food for the table. And there was always another mouth to feed. And I guess we've inherited that for my mom.
Nice, nice. Yes,
And she made sure that we went to school, we studied, and she made sure that we went to church. She was
yeah.
extremely religious.
Oh,
So,
nice.
all kudos to mom
Yeah,
for what she did for us. And all of us have definitely benefited from mom in that
yeah.
respect.
Yeah, what a great story. I mean, everybody I speak to, like they just credit the parents, which is why I'm so fascinated by parenting. Like how much how does your mom inspire you? How does your dad? What did your dad do that like instill those values in you? And it's good to see. Okay, Kevin was instilled these values by his mom, like when he as a kid, and till today he remembers that. What was your mom? What was your favorite thing your mom used to make for you? The food she used
Oh,
to cook.
so she made jhal fries and
Yeah.
korma fry.
Ooh, kurma bread?
The kurma fry, it's a kurma.
Fry. Okay, fry. Okay.
Yeah, fried kurma. But we were more interested in mom because I'll tell you, I'm going to share a story of mom. I bet she's going to be waking up from above in heaven. We used to go to boarding school, so we didn't have much to offer. We used to call it tuck, Tuck, tuck. I don't know if you heard that word.
No.
Now, tuck is, all the goodies that you took in your box
Okay.
when you were going back to boarding school.
Okay.
We called it tuck. you know. So for us, mom would take a couple of days before we left. She made a kind of toffee. It was made out of jaggery and peanuts.
Oh, yes. That
I
sounds
don't know
so
if that
good.
rings a bell, but
I've had it, yes.
yeah, you had it. But we
Yeah.
used to have fun because when the jaggery toffee was made, we used to wait for the container, the utensil,
Yeah.
the
Dixie.
dekchi, and we used to scrape that dekchi. And my mom said, "Don't make a hole in it now." You know, those were the days when that was our kind of tuck. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. How old were you? Well, okay, I want to talk about boarding. How was it moving to a boarding school at age 10? Did you go with some of your friends and your brothers? Did you have somebody, or were you just by
yes.
yourself
See, my
day
younger
one?
brother Neil was 6 years old.
Okay.
My brother Roland was about eight and a half. I was
Okay.
about 10 and a half.
Yeah.
And then I had somebody who I want to talk about definitely today, my older brother, Kenneth Joseph Ward.
Okay.
He's still alive. He's still doing well. He
Nice.
still teaches. He's an English teacher and still giving tuitions. Still
Oh,
at
wow.
79, he gives a lot of tuitions to poorer people and some of our old students. But Ken was the binding factor for us in school. He's a tremendous mentor even today to all of us. And sometimes when the three brothers were lined up in the principal's office, the teacher will ask us, "Are you three really the brother of Kenneth Joseph Ward?" You know what I mean now.
Yes.
And that was Ken. And Ken was a smart guy, very strict and disciplined. And then he also got the Achievement Award in Loyola School in 1965. He
Wow.
got the Best Achievement Award, and I still remember that. I still remember that,
Wow.
And he's a great teacher. Actually, he led the way for me to become a teacher. I wanted to be like Ken. And I just feel grateful that he sowed seeds of being a teacher.
Yeah.
And we all taught in Anglo Indian schools,
Yeah.
all of us. And so the Ward legacy is still there over 55 years in Calcutta as teachers. My nephew is still teaching in St. James School,
Wow.
and he's there still. He's done his masters and he's keeping up the Ward tradition.
Wow, that's amazing. Like if you
Yeah.
go and you can track the Ward legacy of teachers in that area, that's amazing how far
Oh,
back it
they'll all
goes.
know. They'll
Yeah.
all know who the Wards are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. So how obviously you were married in India and then you moved here, right? Because you had kids
Correct.
there. So tell me about so at 18 you got a job, you were at that school, then you went back for higher studies
Correct. And
and
when I finished my higher studies, I came back. I was offered a job right away. Jobs were pretty easy for Anglo Indians that
yeah,
time.
yeah,
People were looking for Anglo Indian
yeah.
teachers. So I put in an application and I went to Frank Antony Public School in Calcutta. And I started my teaching career there because my brother was already teaching there. And I studied teaching in Frank Antony Public School under the principalship of George W. Flynn. He
Oh
was
wow.
very British, but I guess he's also one of my mentors for teaching me, the right path
Yeah,
and guiding me in
yeah.
teaching. And I taught in Frank Antony Public School from 1973 to 78. And then I don't know, I guess I was doing a good job, I guess. So there was a tussle between Frank Antony Public School and St. James School.
Oh
It was
really?
just a boundary across
Okay.
the schools. And the two principals had a little tussle because G.W. Flynn didn't want me to leave and go to St. James School. But I was offered a much better job in St. James.
Yeah.
St. James is a much bigger school
Okay.
when it comes to administrative capacities and also leadership and also sports.
Yeah.
And I want to mention another great Anglo Indian, prodigy. You got to read him up, Conrad.
Absolutely. Tell
You
me.
got to read him up. and he just passed away. I was in Calcutta 2023 when I went for his funeral. It's John Mason, Mason,
Okay.
John Mason. His middle name is J. A. Mason.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, John Mason,
Okay.
and he actually gave me the job in St. James School, and I am so ever grateful to John Mason. He made me the middle school coordinator. I was middle school coordinator for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Grades 5 to 7 were under me, the teachers were under me, the curriculums were under me, and I am so grateful to John Mason.
Wow. You had your first jobs. Nobody starts off the first job with such a lot of responsibility. And
Correct?
that's a rare thing,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely, Conrad. I guess, uh, I was guided in the right path,
Yeah.
and I had so much of backing and support.
Yeah.
And it's no going backwards from then.
Yeah.
And then when John Mason left and went to a bigger school in Dubai, there was another friend of mine who worked with me in Frank Anthony Public School. So we've been together, this other friend of mine from 1973. And he's also a very well known Anglo Indian today, but we are the best of buddies. He's about 3 years younger than me, and his name is Darrell Bloud. Darrell Bloud. Now, Darrell took over St. James,
Okay.
and he became principal.
Yeah.
And I don't think he liked the idea of me coming to the States.
He lost a good person, right?
No, but
Yeah.
you know what happened?
What?
We haven't lost touch because Darrell has
Nice.
visited us in California at
Nice.
least might be 7 or 8 times.
Oh, wow. That's
And we
amazing.
go and see him when he was in Dubai. We
Yeah.
went and saw him twice.
Yeah.
Now we are due to go to India. He's back to India, and
Nice.
he's taken on another big job. He's a chairman of some APJ schools in Calcutta. He's
Oh,
chairman,
wow.
so
Oh,
he's got a
wow.
big job. Another good friend of mine, humble person, also come up from humble beginnings, but so dedicated, so devoted, and a person who has also helped the Anglo Indian community in many ways. If you find out about Darrell Bloud, I guess he might be another person that you could talk about,
Yeah.
and a lot of people will know him. He has a lot of information to share with you.
Yeah.
So that is about my mentors in India and my principals who gave me all these challenges and opportunities. And I never had a dull moment in India. Never, never. I used my wife Christine used to say you have more time to spare in school instead of home.
Speaking of Christine, it's time to tell us the love story. How did
Oh, the
you
love
how did you
story.
meet
Oh my
Christine?
goodness me. I am not going to be embarrassed. Christine's not here. But I guess that was, another gift from God.
Yeah.
I was a teacher in Calcutta,
Yeah.
and Christine's oldest sister, Margaret Cecilia Pathak, Margaret Cecilia Pathak, her husband was Punjabi.
Okay.
But Margaret is Christine's oldest sibling, and they have 14 siblings in the family.
Wow.
So Margaret is now in Michigan,
Nice.
and we just went to celebrate her 90th birthday
Wow.
in Michigan, quite a few of us. And I guess it's a godsend. I got in touch with Margaret first because of being a teacher, meetings, and also getting together to do different projects for Anglo Indian children, working on the Anglo Indian Association. I joined the Anglo Indian Association when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
When I had to join because I joined Frank Anthony Public School. It was mandatory to be in the association.
Ah, okay.
Then I did a lot there with Margaret, and I'll name some others. So Margaret took a liking to me. I don't know for what reason. I always ask her why. But then, the good thing is when I went to Margaret's place for meetings, I somehow met Christine there with two other sisters. Because the three sisters came from a place called Allahabad
Okay.
to study in Calcutta because Calcutta had more Anglo Indian schools to afford, and they were studying in a Loreto school, and that's where I met Christine. And Christine and my sister went to the same school, and I came to know Christine. I never in my wildest dreams thought that Christine would be interested in me. I was too frightened
Yeah.
because I heard about her father and the way they grew up
Yeah.
and strict discipline.
Yeah.
But one day I happened to meet Christine's mom in my sister-in-law's home. My mother-in-law, may her soul rest in peace. She says, "Are you interested in marrying my daughter?"
Oh, wow.
I could have fallen off my chair because I would have never ever thought in my wildest dreams that she's going to ask me that question.
Yeah.
I said, "By Joe, I better pull up my collar and get my hairstyle in place." And from then there was no turning around.
Yeah.
I just got to know Christine, and I am so grateful. And then I think after about 2 years we got engaged, and then we got married a year later. And it's a blessing that we're going to celebrate 48 years this
48. Nice.
in September. I wish you're going to be here with us when we celebrate 50. We'll
That would
make
be
you
great.
come down
Yes.
and be one of our guests of honor.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's Christine. And I guess we had so many things in common being
Yeah.
Anglo Indians. Yeah, yeah. And cooking.
Yeah.
Christine is an exemplary chef. She has great culinary skills. The whole of the Bay Area knows that, let me tell you. They
I
are all they are all the ones that have tasted all our food, and her speciality is making different kinds of pickles. She's the lady who makes the best pickles in the Bay Area.
nice. I love pickles.
Yeah, you will
Yeah.
have many kinds of pickle. You won't believe. You'll have to guess first what they are. But even a lot of American people love her pickles,
Yeah.
and that's Christine. Christine was having a wonderful job when she was in Cal. She worked for a company called Reckitt and Coleman, a British company, which manufactured Dettol,
Oh, really?
antiseptic, Disprin,
Yeah.
barley, and a lot of other things. She had a good job there, very good. And then, but when we came away, we had to come away to America. She never stopped working, actually. She never stopped working. Now, that's Christine. And Christine also had the privilege of, with me, I'm going to send you a little, cutting
Yeah.
that is on BBC, where
Yes.
we were interviewed by BBC because of Christine's, Anglo Indian culinary dishes that she was able to put into that book.
Absolutely. Send it,
I'm going to send you
please.
that cutting.
Yeah.
And I think in the early 90s, that cutting came out in England. And it was recorded in Tollygunge Club in England by the great Madhu Jaffrey. You got
Oh,
to read it.
really?
Madhu
Yes.
Jaffrey interviewed us. She is a multimillionaire, I think. And she has different cookbooks. And Christine's recipes are also in her cookbook, Flavors of India.
Wow. Amazing. Flavors of India. I'll have to write
Flavors
that
of
down.
India
Yeah.
by Madhu Jaffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see. It'll come up as Christine Ward. Uh, I only came to know her name is, we all called her Christine Ward. But the day I signed my wedding certificate with the priest,
Yeah.
I was shocked to see that her name is Anne Margaret Christine Ward. I said, my God, am I marrying the right girl? Am I marrying the right Anglo Indian lady? And then she says, yes, my name is actually Anne Margaret Christine. Margaret was for my sister in law, Margaret, and everybody called me by my third name, so I'm known as Christine.
That's funny that you
That's
that's
very
when you
funny.
discovered the name.
That's when I discovered the name. I didn't know. So
That's
that is
amazing.
Christine. Christine is now actually a full-time mom at home.
Yeah.
She's worked tirelessly. She worked at Stanford University also for a long time.
Nice.
Now she takes care mostly of the home, everything.
Yeah.
She's my caregiver, and I don't have enough to pay her now for my caregiving services.
I definitely want to talk about your journey here to the States, but before we jump to the States, how old were your kids? And I know you have 3 kids, right? So,
Correct.
how old were your kids when you were in India, and when did you move to the States, and what was the motivation moving to the
Okay.
States?
Wonderful. I can definitely elaborate on that. Now, when we came to the States, it's almost 30 years now, you know.
Wow.
The oldest girl was almost finishing high school. The second girl was in ninth grade. So they were pretty old.
Yeah.
But my son was very small. I think he was about six and a half.
Yeah. Okay.
And, bless his soul, he's very American.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we came here, I want to also mention somebody else that I would like you to know about. Is my wonderful sister-in-law. She's the fourth sibling in Christine's family. Her name is Jeannie Bonk.
I
Jeannie
love that
Bonk.
name. Yeah.
Bonk. Jeannie. Jeanne.
Okay.
So she is the one that we give credit for all of us being in this country. Six siblings. Six.
Oh
Can
wow.
you imagine one sister sponsoring six siblings to this country?
Oh wow. Was it all at the same time, or like over the
All
course
we
of?
all came in a matter of 3 to 4 months.
Oh
Correct.
wow.
Correct. And we still give her credit for what she did. She wanted a better life for all of us.
Yeah.
And there's no two ways. We are much better off, even though we miss our first home.
Yeah.
We are much better off. So
Yeah.
Jeannie's been here, might be for 50 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, more than 50. They celebrated their golden jubilee just a couple of years. So Jeannie is very much Anglo Indian. They called her, and she started the first Indian restaurant in the Bay Area,
Wow.
Jeannie Bunk.
Jeannie Bunk. Thank you.
It was called the Empress of India.
Nice. I like
And I
it.
tell you that title suits her because she is an empress.
I love it.
I tell you, she was Miss Spitfire. Miss Spitfire.
Yeah.
And her restaurant was for more than 25 years. It was treated like a boarding home for people, a boarding house. Just like an Anglo Indian boarding home, where customers were coming regularly and treated just like home boarding people.
Yeah.
And so she sponsored all of us. And today whatever we have is she's the one. We had to wait 14 or 15 years to come here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. And in a span of 4 months, five of us came. And my wife was as Christine, she was very upset because when we got the papers to go to Bombay, Mumbai,
Yeah.
the consulate was moved from Calcutta to Mumbai. We found that my son, Jerome's name was not on the papers.
Oof.
So she was livid. She
Yeah.
said, "Oh, my son Jerome is not going to go with us." And she went, holus bolus. She went to the American consulate in Calcutta and said, "This is my son," and all the birth certificates and all. And you won't believe, in no time, Jerome was added to.
Wow.
Yeah, because
That rarely happens.
Jerome was not even born when the papers were filed.
Ah. Okay.
14 years, only the two girls were young.
Okay.
So we went to Bombay and we all came together. And what can I tell you? What can I tell you?
How
I
was
came
it? How was it on your daughters when you first told them? Were they excited? Being teenagers, they
They
had
were
different
excited.
experiences.
They
Yeah.
were excited because they knew a lot about America.
Yeah.
They studied about America.
Yeah.
They were excited, but they were sad because they were leaving back a lot of their
Yeah.
school friends,
Yeah.
and they were sad. But they adjusted very fast.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the two girls. Yeah, my daughter, my older daughter, of course. Let me tell you something about her. Her name is Yolande. Yolande. So Yolande is going to be 47 this year, Conrad. And Yolande gave us a shock. As soon as she finished high school, she says, I'm going to be joining the Air Force. I didn't even know what she was talking about, because we just came to this country. She says, Dad,
Yeah.
I've already got a call from the Air Force. And her mother, Christine, says, no, you can't go. But she pursued, did the interviews, went, and I still say that she did the right thing.
Yeah.
She served the US Air Force for 22 years.
Wow.
Active US Air Force.
Wow. Thank you,
Active
Yolan.
medical, yeah.
Yeah.
And she went. Her first job was in San Antonio, where we went for her graduation. Then she was deployed to Ramstein, Germany during the Iraq War. Then from there, she came back to America. Then she went to Okinawa for a couple of years in Japan. We went to Okinawa, Christine and me. Then she was deployed to Afghanistan, Bagram, for 5 years.
Whew.
I guess that was the most saddest part
Yeah.
of her life, which she never ever explains to us. She doesn't like to talk about it, because it was sad. And our granddaughter, who's 21, stayed with us for about 5 years. We took care of her in Santa Clara because she was young, and both husband and wife were deployed to different. Her husband also was her first husband. Of course, she remarried. He was also in the Air Force. So the granddaughter spent about 5 years with us, and we took care of her.
You know who Yoland reminds me of? When given that she finished her school, college, and she was called into big responsibilities, you, right?
I guess that might be true. I guess that's what they always say. You
Yeah.
got to be pushy. You got to be pushy like mom and dad.
Yeah.
And she's already retired, getting a pension,
Nice.
and fortunately she's pushed herself still
Yeah.
studying, and
Yeah.
she's got a contract job with the services already in Washington.
Oh, nice.
So she's still working. Yeah.
Nice. Is she based in Washington right
She's
now?
in Virginia.
Okay.
She's in Virginia, Alexandria. Both the girls are there.
Okay.
But Washington is only 15 or 20 minutes
Yeah.
away from where
Yeah.
they live.
Okay.
And then the second girl, I think, I think definitely you'll want to know a lot about her. But I don't think I'll be able to talk much. I think later sometime you can get her
Yes.
to also be on your podcast. Her name is Nerissa Maria Ward. Nerissa.
Well, I like it.
Now, I guess Nerissa, out of the three children, I guess she is very much more Anglo Indian in her habits, in her culture, in her organizing skills. And I don't know what to say, Conrad. She graduated from San Jose State with a business major. And all of a sudden she says, I'm not interested. I'm going to open out my own food business. I'm going to be a chef. So we were not happy about that because
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
But then she got herself moving, positive. She managed a big, a big restaurant where employees were given food at Google. She was the head of a department there, of a chef place where they provided food. Then also in Oracle, I think. And then she said, "Oh, Dad, this is not what I dreamt of, because all the food more or less is processed and you got to stick to the same menu every day.
Yeah.
It's pretty lethargic. I'm going to buy myself a food truck." So in San Jose, she bought a food truck, might be about 10 years ago. And I said, "What are you going to name your food truck?" Chutney Marys is her food truck. Teresa's
Perfect.
truck is Chutney Marys. Her middle name is Mary. And I guess you know what Chutney Mary is.
Yes.
I hope you know the British preferred, young girls who were, dressed in flashy colors and outstanding colors. They were called Chutney Marys.
I knew it was a term. I did not know what it meant. But
That's
yes.
what it meant. It was from the British.
Okay.
They called Anglo Indian girls or people in India, Anglo Indian girls who were dressed brightly colored
Chutney
and outstanding colors. They called them Chutney Marys.
Chutney Mary. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and so
And what about your son? What is he? What
my
is he?
son Jerome was young. He also is a wonderful musician. He took to
Nice.
the medical field too.
Okay.
He took to the medical field like me. I was able to get him in, and
Yeah.
he's done a double MA. MA is a medical assistant in two fields, and he was working at Stanford for about 8 years. He was a coordinator for the pain management clinic at Stanford for a couple of years, but he's taken a little break because he's studying for
Yeah.
a higher exam, and he's thinking of doing something more, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jerome is a master musician. Nerissa is a master musician too. And I guess they've taken, a chip of the old block
Yeah.
where they love to sing and love to make music.
Excellent.
And Jerome stays very close to us. He lives in San Jose. Yeah. So we are husband and wife, together. Sometimes there's so much of peace in the home,
Yeah.
but there's always hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's about the three children that we have,
Yeah.
and two grandchildren. One is Jasenia, who's studying, and the other is a son, a grandson, who's only 7 years old. His name is Zane, but he's known as Zane Dynamite. He loves to dance, Conrad. He's got his father is black. His father
Okay.
is African American, but he loves to dance, loves to sing. He says, "I'm what's his name? Bruno Mars." Go for it. Yeah, he's an exceptionally smart boy.
I
Yeah,
love it.
he goes for soccer classes. He's coaching and going for soccer,
Yeah.
and so that's about the children.
Yeah. So I have. This is about halfway through. I'm starting to ask all the people I speak with the same questions to see what answers I get.
Absolutely.
So did you grow up flying kites or playing marbles?
What a question you asked me. What a question you asked me. I have a group. I have a group. It's called the 69 group batch.
Yeah.
69 group batch.
Yeah.
So we talk every Saturday in the morning, once a week.
Oh wow.
There's about 10 or 12 of us. From India, some of them, some from Canada,
Yeah.
some even sometimes from Australia, some from Vancouver. So we talk once every Saturday. And I've met some of them. I just met a classmate of mine now when I went to Virginia during Christmas. I met another classmate of mine after the batch of 69 when I met him last in 69.
Oh
Can you
wow. Amazing.
So I was able to meet with him. But, every time I talk with them, they keep nudging me and giving me a little jolt. Please give me back my marbles. Well, I was the marble champ.
Oh really?
I was a marble champ, and I'm going to share a hilarious story with you.
Please do.
It might sound a little funny, but it's hilarious. So we used to play marbles in school, and inevitably, my pockets were always full of marbles. Full, full, full.
Yeah.
So I came to the class, I think I was in might be seventh grade, and it was a history class, and the teacher was also an Anglo Indian teacher. He had the same last name as me. His name was Derek Phillips Ward. And he came from Montfort Boys High School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he came from Montfort.
Okay.
I think you must be knowing that school.
I know the Montfort School. Yeah.
Yeah, so he came from there. And as soon as I knocked at the door, "Sir, can I come in to the class?" My pocket burst. The pocket burst, and all the marbles fell down in the class. And I was embarrassed. And he called me to the desk. He says, "Come here." He says, "Are those your marbles?" I said, "Yes, sir, I'm sorry." And he gave me a tight slap.
Oof.
He gave me a tight slap. So some of my friends still remember that and says, that DG Phillips Ward, he shouldn't have given you a slap because your marbles all fell out. But you used to take away all our marbles. I was champion in marbles tops, and
Tops. Yeah.
tops also, and kites.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was called manja, the
Yep.
kite. That manja used to get all knotted up.
Yeah.
So I used to start crying. I used to go to my mom, and my mom used to open out the manja and give it us to us back. She used to have all the pieces. So I loved tops, manja, and kites. And we played another game, which I need to recap for you. It was called Gilly Dandu.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a champ at Gilly Dandu too.
Oh, the two sticks, right?
Yeah, and we also played up country. Our two main games were hopscotch
Yep.
and rounders.
Rounders. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like baseball, right?
like baseball,
Yeah.
hopscotch and
Yeah.
rounders.
Hmm.
So these were some of the games that we played.
Yeah.
We had no TV, no
Yeah.
phones, no watches.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes we played kabaddi.
Yeah. 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 I feel like kites are still flown in India, but marbles and tops
No,
is a
man,
dying
dying.
hobby.
They don't want to spend that. Children nowadays have better games to play.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
So,
I was involved very much with that.
well, I'm glad I asked you that question. Second, so I have three. Second one, was anybody in your family a boxer?
My mother's brother
Okay.
was a boxer. Yeah, George Martin. My mother was a Martin by last name,
Okay.
and her brother was George Martin. He was a Southeastern Railway champion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, he was
Okay.
a very good sportsman, George Martin. Yeah, and I still hear a lot of him. He left back a rich legacy for boxing, and then my wife's brothers were boxers too. My father-in-law was a boxer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Christine keeps telling me that when there was a boxing match, they all used to start crying before the boxing match.
Yeah. Yeah. I can
They all
understand.
used to
Yeah.
cry.
Yeah.
My father-in-law was a great boxer and a great shikari.
A
Yeah,
hunter. Yeah.
he was a hunter, very well known. Yeah, yeah. My
Yeah.
brothers-in-law also were hunters. I used to go a lot hunting with them when I was up in India. We did a lot of hunting. Yeah.
What did you guys hunt, and how did you
Oh,
hunt?
what not? What not? Blue bull, wild boar, deer, chink, rabbit, geese, everything.
Did you have
I have
like
a
some
brother-in-law here.
what kind of guns did you have back
Oh,
then?
a different kind of guns they had.
Oh, really?
Father-in-law had many, many guns, many.
Ah, he was a
And my
pro.
brother-in-law here goes hunting. His
Okay.
name is Basil. He stays next to me. Basil goes hunting. He's also here in the area, staying close to me. He still loves to go hunting
Nice.
and fishing.
Nice. Yeah. Like it's amazing if you go back in generations in India, right? A lot of Anglo Indians had boxers in the family.
Always,
You know.
always. And
Last question. Did you or anyone in your family raise pigeons?
we
Oh, yeah.
so we lived in a railway home,
Yeah.
very big home,
Yeah.
and every railway home had what you called an outhouse.
Yeah.
Outhouse.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad had three outhouses. Three. Not one, two, but three. So in the first outhouse, the servant used to stay.
Okay.
The second one was the ducks and the chickens. And the third one we had was goats. We had about 30 goats once upon
Oh,
a time.
wow.
And also pigeons. And these goats were marvelous. We used to leave them out in the morning,
Yeah.
and by the evening, they'll come back to roost on
Yeah.
their own.
Yeah.
Nobody ever touched a goat. We never ever lost a goat.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love growing up. It sounds like that's such a good life because even I remember growing up and my dad was stationed in Jalrapet.
Yeah, I remember
Right?
that.
Yeah, we just had like chickens, ducks. It's just such a great life. Just chasing. What else
Yeah.
could a little boy want than chasing ducks on a Saturday morning?
Absolutely, absolutely. And when it's talking about ducks,
Yeah.
let me also add something to you which is interesting. Upcountry in Adra, we used to have what is called whist drive.
What's that?
It's a card game
Ah,
where you have certain rules. You have an MC, and if you win, you move up. If you lose, you stay on the table. It was a very popular game called whist drive. And I remember that game. my mom and dad would keep us with the servants and they went for whist drive. And especially at Christmas. One Christmas, I'll never forget, my mom came back with two ducks.
Oh,
So they gave prizes with livestock for
that's amazing.
whist drive prizes. So when you spoke about ducks, we were so happy that we had two ducks for Christmas.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like when I went for Christmas, I took my family a couple of years ago, and we went to the All India Anglo Indian Association. They had like a Christmas treat, and they had the ducks there, and you say like you throw the ring around the duck,
Ring
right?
the duck. Yeah, and the duck becomes
And my
yours.
wife and my kids could not understand because my wife is Caucasian and my kids
I
grew up
see,
here.
I see.
They could not fathom that you just throw a ring and you take a duck home
No.
with you.
Another thing, we had used to have fates.
Yeah,
And I was debarred from all fates there in Calcutta because I was the champ at the coconut shy.
the cook.
You know the coconut shy? They had a bamboo,
Yeah.
and on top of the bamboo, they used to put a coconut. And they gave you tennis balls that you had to knock the coconut off.
Yes.
So if you knocked the coconut, you got a gift. So I was not allowed to go to the coconut shy because I was
Coconut shy. I haven't heard that word in
coconut
ages.
shy. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thanks for saying that. I told you we're gonna hear some words just fly out. I love it. So how so how was it for you, that transition of moving from India, especially professionally, right? All of a sudden, it's a different culture, and you had to work with all these people. Clearly, you have a gift of just making people feel welcome and friendly by talking. And I think that led to your success. But was there any challenges and things that you found difficult in making the transition?
You know, there were challenges because, first of all, I was interested in getting a teaching job in California. My brother in law, who's white, Caucasian, Robert, he took me to some schools to have a look and see what the schools were like.
Yeah.
Now, I was not inclined in the beginning at all because it was a totally different kettle of fish. I taught in a British school, Anglo Indian school, which was totally academic, totally academic,
Yeah.
very competitive. And then I did my CBEST exam. That's an exam you got to do here if you want to be a teacher. But then I was reluctant to join because it was very different. But then, the tenacity of being, an Anglo Indian and coming to this country, my wife and me, let me tell you, we never spent a dull moment. We took up 3 jobs just to pay for our rent, take care of the 3 kids. We took up 3 jobs, getting up at 3:30. Instead of waiting for a big job, let's get out and find what we want. I think that's one of the incentives that took us to where we are
Yeah.
today. 3 jobs, whatever we did,
Yeah.
and then we started finding our way.
Yeah.
And my wife got a better job in the Stanford University. And then I was working for a Japanese company that moved to another place far away. I couldn't leave my family, so I didn't want to go. And then all of a sudden, I told you this job came up when my wife was asked, "Do you have anybody that would like to work at the Stanford Hospital?" So my wife said, "Yes, I have somebody. I have somebody." But she didn't tell that person who was going to interview me who I was. And she came and said, you got a little part-time job. Do you want to go? I said, I don't mind. I'll do anything.
Yeah.
So when I went and met this lady, she just took me to the office, left me at this lady's office, and she went away to do her own job. So the lady calls me in. She says, so are you interested in a job? I said, sure. The first question she asked me, do you know how to speak English? I said, yes, ma'am, I'll try. I'll try. I went and did the exam that she gave me, Conrad. I came out after 3 minutes and gave her back the paper.
Yeah.
And then I told her I finished the exam. She looks at me, are you sure you answered all the questions? In my mind, in my heart of hearts, I'm saying, this exam was too simple for me.
Yeah.
My graders in Calcutta would have completed it.
Yeah.
And then she says, yes, you're going to get the job. You're going to get the job. And this is the same lady who interviewed my son after about 15 years. And I
Wow.
told her now, do you want me to tell you that my son speaks in English? She said, you are an amazing guy. You are an amazing guy. I used to meet her so many times. Please ask me, please refer other people to Stanford. I will definitely interview them if they are coming from you.
Yeah.
So that was what happened.
Yeah.
I got into Stanford. It was a job only for 1 year. After that, I was told that it's a contract job. But the manager, who was Caucasian,
Yeah.
she says, Kevin, this job is for 1 year. The lady whose job you're doing is going to be back. We don't want you to leave Stanford. We're going to keep you. I didn't know what to say. The doctors are all so fond of you. Everybody is fond
Yeah.
of you. And in a couple of moments, I got a permanent job. And there was no
Wow.
looking back. No looking back. I went
Wow.
where all to different. My office first was in Palo Alto. I'll take you there when you come, if you come. I was there for about 12 years. Then I went to Redwood City. I went to Fremont. And I'm still there 25 years. I've taught so many new hires at Stanford, and I've been so helpful. I don't have any job responsibilities now, but they didn't want me to retire. They offered me a relief position where I work only 3 days a week now. And
Wow.
I'm so
What?
grateful. So grateful. 2014, Conrad, this is something that I want to share with you. I didn't even know. The director asked me to leave work and go home. I thought she called me to the office. I thought I was in trouble. When you were called to an
Yeah.
office, you always thought of being in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she called me. She says, please go home, dress up in your suit, and please come back. I'm going to take you. We're going to go out for dinner. So I was wondering what is happening. And then she took me. There was an award ceremony in Stanford for over 1,500 people, doctors and all VIPs. There was an award ceremony which they have every year, and I didn't know. Only when I went there, it was a dinner, but I saw all these people. I was still confused. And then when my name was called out, I was recognized as one of the employees of the year at
Oh, wow.
Stanford in 2014. And
Whew.
it's still there. I have a picture. And then she says, this is the reason why I didn't tell you. But we are so grateful. Several of the doctors have recommended your name, your colleagues, your patients who you take care of every day. They are so grateful to you. And I guess I'm still so grateful that I was able to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing it. And
Yeah.
this country, Conrad, is an amazing country, as you know.
Yes.
Let me tell you, there's no doubt about it. The opportunities and the help and support that we've got from people, our families, our colleagues, fellow Anglo Indians, is second to none.
Yeah.
We've definitely done something for them,
Yeah.
but what Christine and myself get back in return, I just have to click my finger and I get response in no time.
Yeah.
People, if there's a helping hand, if there's something to do as a family, and I'm so grateful. And today, I guess we are what we are. We have a beautiful home, we have a beautiful community, and we have beautiful people. I'm so grateful today to Jeff for setting this up for me. Jeff and Werner are also so close to us, and we are so grateful. There are so many other people, but when you come here, I want to definitely do something for you to show you that we still have a simple, humble Anglo Indian community
Yes.
that gets together.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
blessing. And somebody else, if I forget, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I want to also give credit to a family that did so much for me and my wife. It's the O'Brien family.
The
O'Brien.
O'Brien.
It's
This
the
is
famous
the.
O'Brien family that everybody knows today.
Oh,
But I
really?
had the gift of knowing them when I was also 19 years old.
Oh, really?
Yes, the three. O- the father is Neil O'Brien.
Yeah.
Neil.
Yeah.
He is the legacy to the O'Briens. He is the one that has taught them the gift of quizzing. He was the first great quiz master, and I knew him personally. I worked with him, and he was so fond of me and my family. He was a professor at Calcutta University, and he was the managing director of Oxford University Press, the books. And his three sons are all three amazing Anglo Indians, pushy, but they still live very humble lives,
Yeah.
even though they've reached, a
Yeah.
high level of society.
Yeah.
Of course, Derek O'Brien is a parliamentarian,
Yeah.
and he's achieved that all on his own. He's not a nominated parliamentarian. Yeah, so he's not a nominated. He is from West Bengal with Mamata Banerjee. And the second brother is Andy O'Brien. He's in Australia, Perth. I
Okay.
meet Andy also from time to time. And
Yeah.
there's another O'Brien is Barry O'Brien,
Yes.
who's still in Calcutta. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're wanting to meet Barry one day.
Yes.
And Barry will have a lot of stories to tell you about me.
Yeah. I'll have to get a lot of general knowledge before I speak to Barry because
Oh, they are
his
fabulous. They are
mind, I
fabulous.
feel like he can just reach anywhere and pluck things out and just start
They,
talking
they are,
about
they
it.
are fabulous. They have the brain of their father.
Yeah.
They have the brain of their father.
Yeah.
But they also helped me. They helped a lot of Anglo Indian
Yeah.
children. And they did a lot of things for the Anglo Indian community.
Yeah.
And their mother's name was Joyce O'Brien. Now, Joyce was totally from a railway colony. She was from a place called Bilaspur. But she was very much associated with the Anglo Indian Association in Calcutta. And she went out of her way to do a lot for the Anglo Indian children.
I feel like I feel like the way Anglo Indians are connected to the railways, like if there were people recording music, Anglos recording music, there would be so many songs about the railways, like the good old country and western we listen to,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Unfortunately, we did not have the recording. If not, how many great artists would have come up, right? Writing some great country songs about working on the railways and,
Yeah.
you know?
There's a guy, since you said this, there's a guy that you need to try and get in touch with. He's in Australia. He's, he's, he's sung a lot of songs and he's also composed a lot of songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's in Australia. Uh, I'm just not remembering his name, but I've got a lot of his songs. But
Yeah.
he's from up country and he sings a lot of songs about the railways
Oh,
and the
really?
railway trains.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just not getting his
Yeah.
name.
Text me his
I'll
name.
get his name and send it to you.
Yeah.
But it'll be good if you get some of his songs. You'll get a
Yes.
lot of feedback about the railways and
Yes.
what they did.
Yes. Before we move on, I want part of this uh, podcast, right, is just to get to know people, but also learn from them, and 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 a lot of Anglo Indians, if they are in India or Canada or the US, or if they think about immigrating to some other country, right? I think the great lesson that we can take from you is the tenacity, right? Life might not seem like in the movies, right? I'm going to another country. I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to be this thing. You take up the 3 jobs. There's no shame, right? There is,
Not at all.
right?
Not at all.
Work, take the 3 jobs, do whatever it takes. Like a good friend of mine, a colleague of mine says, you're always going to win. If you're a cricket fan, you'll appreciate it. He says, you'll win a match if you take singles, then try to hit sixes all the time.
Okay.
So when you did those 3 jobs, right, you were taking the singles, just the ones, and then the sixes came later on, So that tenacity of just doing whatever it takes, and just being a good person, a decent person, and an honest worker will get you. Is just the basic things. You can be the smartest person. Most people won't care for that as much as they care about the character of the person they're hiring, right? So that's a great story, and I think we can learn that from you because you've done it and you have the success to prove that that works all the time, And same for Jeff as well,
Now, what you said is absolutely truthful, absolutely true. I guess you have to have a quality to care for people. Care.
Yeah. Yes.
And I guess Christine and myself, we've gone above and beyond to instill this in our children. And I can see that they are trying to do what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they go out of their way, your children are going to be the same.
Yeah.
And we love to be, still positive, be active,
Yeah.
get the community together, get our friends together, have fun. While
Yeah.
you're busy, you
Yeah.
could be busy, but you still have to have time to have a little fun, amusement. And I'm also very busy with the church. exceptionally busy. But I find my time for entertainment, Yeah. I think that's the moral of the story. And I think everything falls into place if you are positive and you are always grateful for
Yeah.
what you have.
Yeah. Going from doing three jobs to Stanford, right? It's no ordinary college, right? Going from doing three jobs and working hard to Stanford saying, "Hey, we don't want you to leave." Like, it does not get better than that, right? To
Yeah,
speak to someone's character and their professional life, it does. That's a great validation. In this day and age where people are getting let go and
you're
people
right.
work at companies for like 2 to 3 years at a time, to Stanford saying, "Hey, we need you," is that's a testament to whatever it is you're doing and your character. You know, so you get to the States, and I know that you so when I talk to Kevin, right, like as you just heard, Kevin will just start rattling off names because he's connected. He knows everybody. Everybody knows Kevin. Everybody wants to be like Kevin. But so Kevin, you were involved in organizing things for Anglo Indians, and then tell me about that. How did you maybe you didn't start it? I don't know who started, but you definitely did something like that, right?
No, that's another story.
Yep.
Now, I also want to give credit to another Anglo Indian who I had the privilege of working together personally in Calcutta. Much older than me, but he definitely taught me something. And may his soul rest in peace, a gentleman by the name of Blair Williams. Now, when Blair was the vice president of the Anglo Indian Association, might be 74 or 75, I was the sports secretary and also in the association. So I knew Blair from about early 70s. And Blair came to America many years ago. And he was a smart man. He was a civil engineer there on the railways, big job. He came here and he became a professor at Princeton University.
Phew.
See, humble, simple,
Yeah.
and Blair, simple, humble man. And then he had this vision of trying to do something for the community. See, what a vision, what a vision. And he chose to do something especially for the underprivileged Anglo Indians in all parts of India. So he was the founder of a foundation. It was called CTR, Calcutta Tirjala Relief. Now, there was a reason people might not know why he took that name, but Tirjala is a place in Calcutta where the poorer community people stay. It's the place where the less fortunate ones stay. So he named that project Calcutta Tirjala Relief. He developed this foundation, and he on his own solely worked on his own, trying to get funds for this foundation,
Yeah.
where different places in India were being benefited because of his hard work. He used to write books. He had a lot of other Indian friends that he was associated with business. And he did pretty well because he's got a lot of money in that foundation.
Yeah.
And then he called me when I came to America. He says, Kev, why don't you start something in the Bay Area, with the Anglo Indian community?
Yeah.
I said, Blair, I would love to start it right away, but I have three children who are still not yet in school, and I have to look after them with Christine. I can't start right away. But when the time comes, I will definitely do something for you. So this happened, and it happened, I don't know how. I'm not ashamed to let you know. You said in America we do simple jobs.
Yeah.
I had a job even at Stanford, and uh, I was a bartender at an Indian restaurant for about 15 years. Might be 12 to 15 years. One day my wife says, "Oh, you love to make drinks." He said, "For your birthday, I'm going to give you a gift where you go to bar school and learn bartending. It was about $500, and she sent me to school to learn
Oh wow.
bartending. See,
Yeah.
Christine, she made me become a bartender, and then I was bartending at a restaurant just down the road from my home, and I used to do bartending every Friday evening, Saturday evening, and sometimes Sunday morning.
Wow.
One day I was there, so the owner of the restaurant says he knows about Anglo Indians. He's from Pondicherry. He says you better be here today. He says because there's an Anglo Indian. He knew I was Anglo Indian. He says there's an Anglo Indian gentleman having his Christmas party here. So I said okay. I came there to clean up the bar and get the bar in tip-top order. I used to always come an hour, 2 hours early,
Yeah.
never wait last minute.
Yeah.
And then I see a lady there inside the hall, the banquet hall, setting the tables, doing the decorations and putting up the flowers and, Santa Claus and all this. So I said, excuse me, ma'am, my name is Kevin. I'm going to be your bartender for this evening. Let me know what you would like me to do for you, what alcohol you would like to serve. Oh, she says, you're the bartender, so kind of you. Then she says, what is your name? I said, my name is Kevin, the last name is Ward. She says, by the way, are you Anglo Indian? And that was Werner, Jeff's wife. I said, I'm very much Anglo Indian. Are there any Anglo Indians in the Bay Area? I said, oh, there are quite a few. He says, we don't know anybody. So, because of that one event, they treated me so well. I did the party. Jeff gave me his card. And then I said, okay, we'll have something. Not even 2 weeks later, I organized a get together at my home where there were about 40 people there, 45 people.
Wow.
Jeff and Werner got a surprise. They came in and said, oh my goodness, what's going on here? So that was the beginning of at least getting a bigger, huge group. And then I told Blair we'll start the Anglo Indian, West Coast Anglo Indian
Yeah.
group. And we started this about, might be 15 years ago.
Oh
And
wow.
we've had a dance and a picnic every year. Only the last 3 years, we haven't done anything because of COVID. And another thing is, poor Blair Williams has passed
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
So we want to still continue something.
Yeah.
That's how we were able to muster up a committee, and we have a very good active committee, all Anglo Indians, and we want to still do this dance. And we used to have a picnic every year where Christine and me used to cook the food for about 150 people.
Wow.
Christine and me did the whole lunch, while Warner took care of the bingo and the gifts, and some others took care of other things. There's another a couple, Roger and Alison Wharton. They also help with the event, and we have other very close friends like Leslie Davis, my brother-in-law Basil McRott, and this has grown from strength to strength. I don't have to ask for anything when we have an event. The whole bar was donated by all our friends. The bar was totally donated. So we were doing well, entertainment, and the dances were pretty slick. We had a black and white dance, we had everyone coming in their best, and a lot of VIPs. So this is how we built up the community. And now Jeff is also instrumental in doing a social from time to time, so we keep people together.
Yeah.
We had one Christmas time, we're going to have one in May. So this is what we do. And from time to time, we get together.
Yeah. I love it. I love it because what I'm hearing from this is like the perfect assimilation story, right? A lot of people talk about assimilation when you go to another country, assimilate, and you don't want to be so stuck in your old ways, but you've assimilated. But I also like that you're keeping your Anglo identity. You're very much American, but you're remembering the traditions of Anglo Indians and doing those things, which is the perfect blend. You should not
Absolutely.
forget that other half as soon as you leave.
Absolutely.
I love it that you still. So how when you do these dances, do you actually have like a full band playing? Or
Oh, it's all slick.
oh yeah,
We have a DJ who charges us quite a bit. He's a
okay,
good friend of mine.
okay,
He's a Filipino, but we always hire him. So we have the dance from about 7 o'clock till 11. But I knew the owner of the restaurant, and it was 11 o'clock. We used to go on till 12:30. Last number, last number, last number. But it doesn't come. So we have a full DJ, and then we have bands playing in between, talent. Jeff's band used to play for some time. Then other people also we used to get. So we have a mix. So and then we have some. We have some other games like we have a spot dance, we have an elimination dance, all very familiar to you.
Yes.
We have raffles, which are all donated. So we still keep that all up.
So if you just plucked somebody out of India, right, in the middle of the night, and you drop them in the Bay Area in one of these dances, there's like no difference, right?
No difference.
Right?
No difference at all.
Yeah.
The
That's
music is the same. The
yeah.
type of music,
Yeah.
yeah. And I used for the dances that we have for CTR. I used to be the MC, and
Of course.
everybody all chipping in to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody takes care of the food. Warner takes care of the music
Yeah.
and the games, and Roger takes care of the bar. So everybody helps, but it's all fun. It's all
Yeah.
fun. All
Yeah.
fun.
So that Kevin, I think I've learned so much from you. I'm so glad I got to hear your story and learned so much about your family, your mom, your dad, your brothers, and your wife's family, and the marble champ. So many goodies. That's just very if you just pluck one of those things out and put it in somebody else's life, it's okay. But all those things is very, very unique to Anglo Indians. When you have all those things in that recipe, right? That's an Anglo Indian recipe. I love it. It's a great story. What are you doing rest of the day? I know it's are you stay a busy man in Palo Alto?
I'm always busy.
Yes.
Always, never a dull moment.
Yes.
Never
Yes.
a dull.
Yes.
So tomorrow we're going to have just a get together at another Anglo Indian family for lunch. There'll be about 10, 12 of us. And then Sunday church. And from time to time, we go to visit my sister-in-law in a place called El Grove, which is in Sacramento. That's Jeannie Bonk and her husband. And we also organize different trips, which I must tell you, as an Anglo Indian group, we go to Reno, we go to other places where we see a live concert. I think I've heard Engelbert Humperdinck 5 times.
Wow.
We were just last year at a Tom Jones concert in San Jose. There was about 8 or 10 of us. So this is what we do from time to time. And, we have fun together. I think we have something in common. So we enjoy our get-togethers.
I haven't released this episode yet, but I was talking to this guy, Michael Williams. He's in India, but he runs sound for live events. And this Irish group, this Irish choir, a 40-piece Irish choir, is going to be traveling through the Bay Area. And they've asked him to come and run sound. So I told him, when you're in the Bay Area running sound for this Irish choir, let me know. I'll just tell Kevin.
Yeah.
and we'll all go check out the concert for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It must be close to where I'm living in San Jose, where Tom Jones was. It's only 10 minutes away from our home, 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. Keep us posted. The Anglo Indian community cannot be put down. We'll be anywhere.
Yeah. Kevin, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for setting an example for all of us, in hard work and tenacity, and still not taking your foot off the gas, right? You're still going at it.
No, I'm losing a lot of hair on my head, but I think my memory is the one that's standing me in good stead.
Yes.
I guess that's what's standing me in good stead.
Yes.
Conrad.
Yes.
And as long as I can do that, I'll continue, Conrad. Thank you.
You bet.
And my special thanks to you once again, for being who you are. And remember, you should continue as the Northern Star. Yeah. Reach the sky, reach the limit, You're
Coming
doing
from
something
you
that is so appreciative, Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Coming from you, I carry that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Always keep in touch. Always.
Awesome.